this book by Dr. Denise Morett is exactly that. Denise, join me on stage. How are you?
Thank you, Angela.
Well, let's tell people about Lifeline. What's it about and who did you write it for?
Well, I wrote it for parents, as you said, that are dealing with some sort of serious life-threatening medical issue, and wanted parents to know that they actually can manage at a time that you don't think you can manage. You don't feel like you'd be able to get through that because you go into survivor mode. You totally don't connect to yourself because everything becomes about what do I have to do for my child. So after 25 years of doing that work and helping people, and I probably was useful on some level, I'd like to think, I myself, my son was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness and found myself as the mom on the other side of the desk, and just went into survivor mode, and it was very difficult. And as a result of that, and in honor actually of my son Ryan, I felt to make his experience, our experience together, worthwhile, because there's so much to share and to help at that time when it doesn't seem like there's anything that's going to help.
Yeah. So I introduced Denise as Dr. Denise Morett, but let's give people a little bit of your bio, your background. Where does that doctor come from, and what are those 25 years you mentioned?
I'm a doctor of psychology, and I have practiced. I've had mostly a private practice. I did some work in consulting in hospitals and clinics, and have had a general practice and see people for all the typical things.
Did you specialize in parents with childhood illnesses before this happened to you?
Well, it's an interesting question. I didn't set out to specialize in that, but it found me. I had people come to me where their child was suddenly, diagnosed with cancer or had some seizure disorder. They were born with something, and they're depressed, they're stressed out, they're fighting with their spouse or whatever. And so I just had that happen. I got families where maybe a spouse was sick with some sort of illness. So I had sprinklings of that kind of work in the work that I've done over the 25 years. I also consult in hospitals and would treat kids and their families from, coping before it happened in my life.
And did you feel like this will never happen to me? Were you shocked when it happened to you?
Totally shocked. Absolutely shocked. Yeah.
So did that change the perspective you had when you looked back at the clients you'd had before then?
Oh, everything. Everything changed. And the really crazy thing that was kind of cool was my son had two different kind of events that were 8 months apart. In the first one, I was in complete survivor mode and we were just caught blindsided. And then the second event, it was still shocking, and we had to go through all of it all over again. But this time I had been through it before, so I kept running reels of things in my head and used different strategies to cope. And so that's why I wrote the book. Originally it was not the book I was going to write, and I was just called. I kept going through fine-tuning, and I finally just came to that I wanted other people to know that there is a way to get through this. You don't have to go through it in a way that is devastating completely to your health. I myself got sick as a result of being in survivor mode constantly, 24/7.
Yeah, that'll do it.
It did it. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So how do you think, your book is called Lifeline.
Yeah.
When you're in a situation like this where you almost can't think clearly, a lot of people will turn to Xanax, or
sometimes a good choice,
or their doctor will say you should go see a therapist. Is that the right next step? And how do you know if you found the right therapist? And is there a better next step?
The difficulty is, it could be those could all be good steps. One of the things I say in the book is do whatever works, worry about it later. Just don't do anything completely destructive. Heroin is always you stop it, draw the line there. But often one of the things that I found very difficult is the world changes, you're on a different planet, and you can't use the things that you would normally use to cope. You can't get to the massage therapist. You might not be able to even get to a doctor. I was stuck suddenly in the intensive care unit holding my kid's hand. There was no opportunity to even go get anything. So that might not be
Hey, you guys, welcome back. I think we needed a bit of a lifeline of our own, but we are glad that you are back here. I'm talking with Dr. Denise Morett. She's the author of Lifeline, A Parent's Guide to Coping with a Child's Serious or Life-Threatening Medical Issue. And we're going to throw you guys a little bit of a lifeline. Hopefully this is something that will never happen to you. But Denise is explaining one of the processes in her book, if you are alone and scared in a hospital room. Denise, talk about the Lifeline meditation.
So basically you are going to sort of take a breath and try to just relax a little bit. And then reaching down, the imagery is reaching down into kind of the core of the earth and as far down as you want to go and kind of harnessing that energy. And then kind of building the line up to out into the universe and tapping into kind of the universe's energy and connecting those two. And I found it really helpful to like literally imagine that energy kind of just coming through your body and just kind of going through, and the universe supporting you, the core of the earth supporting you, and imagining that energy. I had a white light of energy around me the entire time. I was, particularly the second time with my son. So
powerful.
Powerful.
I want to share with you, Cindy is joining us, and Cindy's daughter was in the NICU for 2 months. How is that different if it's a child? I'm going to guess if it was the NICU, her child couldn't speak and explain what was going on. How do you think that's different when your child maybe can't talk? I don't know if you were ever in that position with Ryan, but how would that be different?
I actually was in that position with Ryan, and my heart goes out to anyone who's struggling, child any age, even an adult child, you know, with the parent dealing with that. So my son actually was born with some serious medical issues that resolved after a while, so we thought we were sort of done. But yeah, he was born with a heart condition, and we couldn't let him cry. And
what?
Yeah, we had to take his heart rate all the time, because if it went all wonky, we had to, do all kinds of stuff. So it was very stressful because we couldn't say, "It's okay, honey," and like we had to use different kinds of techniques to kind of calm him. The helplessness.
But don't you think the biggest thing in that is you being calm?
Yeah. The pediatric cardiologist used to say, you have a glass of wine and then nurse him, because that'll help his heart rate go down and yours. Yeah.
Right.
So
I think that's what's so hard, Cindy. Our heart goes out to you 2 months with a child in NICU, but for sure, I think the most helpful thing you could do for your child in any of these situations is taking care of yourself, which is like the last thing you want to do.
It's the last thing. And for me, I always thought, to take care of myself means, I have to be able to go to the gym or go. And so that's why I wrote the book, because I want people to have the ability to do some practical things right there, especially in the NICU. Like you're not getting good food perhaps or whatever, and grab a bunch of almonds, some dark chocolate or things like that. It's like little things, and that imagery, and there's imagery throughout the book to support yourself and realize you can do that.
Yeah, so important. I have a few more questions here, but I'm going to ask one from Keika from Toronto. Hey, Keika. Keika asks, if you write another book, what will you do differently next time?
I won't doubt myself as much. It was so painful, just the constant, I have no business writing this book.
Who am I to write this book?
And just trying to really believe in that. The beginning shift to allowing to really let it flow from my heart and get out of my doctor brain. I would be just more aware of that.
Because that was really the biggest feedback. A lot of my lawyers, doctors, super smart, accomplished people in an educational environment, one of the hardest things I think that they face is they've been trained through academia or through whatever to write in a certain way, and writing in a way that's really connecting to your reader.
Yes. Absolutely.
I have more questions.
Okay.
So here's another one for you. And a lot of times this shows up with people who are academically successful or successful in other ways. But this question is, I'm a perfectionist, and sometimes I have a lot of difficulty letting things go when they aren't perfect. What advice would you have for me in regard to the book writing process? I'm afraid I would be forever editing and rewriting my story. Mm-hmm. I know you can't relate.
I can totally relate, and I have to tell you, I had to just let go. A lot of times in the process, you even said it, my editor said it, it's better to write a crappy book. Think about your ideal readers. Think about those parents you're trying to help. And that helped me let it go, because it was better to write a crappy book, which it's not.
It's not.
But because it,
But you should get it and find out. It might be terrible, and the only way to know is to download it right now from Amazon.com.
But that just like feeling like it was my mission, and that was very important, to just let that all go and to get out of the perfectionist brain. And I had this fantasy that somehow if I let it go, somewhere later I'd get to do all that. And I did sort of get to edit it from my brain, from my heart. But you just get it out.
Yeah.
And that's why I did this with you, because I knew it would just get out. And then we could kind of do what we had to do with it.
For sure. Dr. Denise Morett is the author of Lifeline. You can get that for free today on Amazon. And then, Denise, you also have a free gift that you wanted to offer to your early readers and our participants here. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's you can go on the website. And
what's the website?
My website is...
where is the offer? You don't know?
No, I know.
I will look it up.
It's in the book on the last page, but if you right on there, if you click on that, it'll bring you to the site, and there's the Lifeline assessment tool, and it's basically an assessment to see like where you are and maybe just different sticking points, and I will give you feedback for free immediately.
Awesome. So you could work directly with Denise. And the thing, I have a question about Cindy. She mentioned her child being in the NICU. My hair is all falling in my face. She mentioned her child being in the NICU, and that might have happened in the past. Do you find that sometimes people need to process trauma, even from things that maybe happened a couple years ago?
Yes. And that's actually a big part of one of the reasons I wrote the book, because even when it's over, it's riveting, or it brings up past trauma, and that's a big part of the work. And you can see more about that when you go to that Lifeline assessment.
Yeah, get that Lifeline assessment if you're registered for this event, and you can go and register now if you haven't at livefromtheauthorcastle.com. We will send you that link as well as the links to all of the books and the giveaways. And if you have had any sort of trauma with a child's illness, you will have the opportunity to talk directly to Dr. Denise Morett. Thanks, Denise.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.